of the Minister of Employment, Labour, Social Solidarity, Mr. Jean Boulet, as well as the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food, Mr. André Lamontagne. So hello everyone. As you know, in our daily lives, sometimes there are things, that are so part of our daily lives that we hardly see them anymore, like a background noise that you end up not hearing anymore. And the crisis that we're experiencing right now reminds us every day to what extent the procurement of all Quebecers in foodstuff is something that is crucial. Feeding Quebec is really something that is very important, and I want to use this opportunity to thank all the actors of the bio-food chain, because in the course of the past 4 weeks, this extraordinary collaborative work that has been done to ensure that day after day, regardless of where we are in Quebec, everybody does have the foodstuff in both quantities and qualities that they need. And for the time being and for the months that are coming, of course, everything has to be done to ensure that food safety of Quebecers and the harvest season that is coming up is of capital importance. To harvest, we have to prepare the fields. We have to be able to do all the work that has to be done as of now. And in the course of the past few years, for many years, the farmers count on workers that mainly come from temporary foreign workers that come from Mexico, Guatemala, a little bit from Honduras. And in the crisis that we're undergoing right now, the presence of foreign temporary workers, whom we need so much, is no certainty. Although the government of Quebec has authorized these people coming on our territory, well, many of them won't make it to Quebec, or many might simply choose to stay at home. And this is a situation that risks bringing with it a delay in all activities, farming activities, and put pressure on our ability to produce the foodstuff that is necessary for the population over the next few months. And within that context, as the farmers and the producers say, and our Premier often says, well, we need hands. And we can find these in Quebecers who unfortunately have lost their jobs in the past few weeks. Or it can also be students who, taking into account that organizations or companies where they would normally work are closed. So the purpose of our announcement today is really to call out to all Quebecers to come and work in the fields, to reinvest them within all of Quebec. So we're announcing today a total investment of $45 million in order to support local recruitment of farm workers and support the transportation of these workers. So I would invite anybody who wants to work in the fields this spring and summer to go to emploiagricole.com as of today. That $45 million will be used for four things. First, 42.6 to have a monetary premium for those workers, which represents $100 for 25 hours per week. The application period covers 34 weeks, that is from the 15th of April until the 31st of October. Another amount of $2 million is to offer help to agricultural companies to adapt adequate transportation measures for the workers in the present context. We have an amount of $200,000, which is added to hire trainers for new workers in order to ease their integration. And finally, another $200,000 to deploy extra resources within the 12 agricultural employment centers to help answer the needs of matching between the companies and these new workers. I would here like to thank and mention the work of the UPA, the United Federation of Producers, as well as Henri Carrière for their collaboration and participation in the development of this initiative. Through this announcement today, we're acting to help our producers for a period which is unprecedented. And I wish to be clear, our Quebec agriculture is a source of pride, and we are present for it. On top of helping them out with workers, we hope every day with the Financière Agricole du Québec to ensure important measures to help them if required. These measures are available on the website of the Financière Agricole of Quebec. So now we'll give my mic to my colleague and friend, the Minister of Labour, Employment and Social Solidarity, Mr. Jean Boulet. Thank you, André, representatives of the media, and once again I am happy to be able to join my colleague here for this announcement that André just defined the parameters of. Year after year, there are thousands of young Quebecers who express their willingness to do things differently. And I would invite them to make that wish of favoring our agriculture, proximity agriculture, and feeding ourselves and our Quebec agriculture. I would invite them to come help us, to help the agricultural producers in this period where every hand is needed. We're asking you for help, for you, for others, for tomorrow. Because of the present context, many agri-food companies in Quebec will not be able to count on the temporary foreign workers that are expected. It is therefore fundamental to support these jobs to ensure the vitality of the agricultural sector. The measures that my colleague André has just announced have been elaborated in collaboration with the Union des producteurs agricoles, the UPA, and the Sectoral Committee of Labor Force, Agric Arrière. I wish to salute the initiative of the UPA and Agric Arrière of inciting Quebecers to come and work on the farms. The involvement of Agric Arrière will be major in the setup of this initiative. Agric Arrière is a sectorial committee of labor for agricultural production and works with the partners. You know that the leaders of the education, the community network, the union, the employers work in consultation together. So that committee and that commission are funded by my ministry. The mission of the sectorial committee is usually of representing the actors of its own sector of activity to develop and broadcast training to workers of the agricultural sector, as well as seeing to the matching of the skills that are required as well as the jobs. Today, its mission is becoming more strategic. The collaboration between the different partners and Agric Arrière is essential today in order to be able to get through the challenges of the next few months in the agricultural field. These measures will cover all agricultural workers that work at minimum wage on farms. I would also like to add that admissible workers may also benefit of the other program that I announced together with my colleague Éric Girard, an incentive program for retention of low-income workers in essential services. Let's remember that the PIRT, its abbreviation, represents an exceptional amount of $100 per week for low-income workers, whether they be at part-time or full-time, in the services and activities that are judged to be priority. The production of foodstuff, for whether it be food or flowers, has been designated as being part of that list. The PIRT offers a temporary amount that will be given retroactively to the 15th of March for a period of 16 weeks. In order to be able to have right to it, I would like to remind you that you have to have an income at the most $550 per week. You have to work in a sector that is considered as being essential, so $550 gross amount, and to have an annual income of at least $5,000 per year, not to exceed $28,600. The PIRT, combined with the amount of weekly $100 that is being announced today, represents an incentive that we consider as being major for seasonal agricultural workers. I therefore invite the people who are interested in working on farms, particularly those who are presently without a job, and the youth. You have the power of supporting our local agricultural production as well as our economy. You can bring help for different tasks. Of course, there is the preparation of the soils, there's the sowing, there's the entire harvest of the fruit and vegetables. There is the site, emploiagricole.com. You register to an area. For the Montreal area, it is AgriJob. And the candidacy will be matched to a regional farm that wish to, of course, welcome workers for the season 2020. So I count on the mobilization. In Quebecers always say yes, so you have an important role to play to support local purchasing as well as food economy, or autonomy rather, And I was able to see the general mobilization when, with the Premier, we made a calling out to solidarity with the initiative Je Bénévole that was very successful and that is still successful. I consider it to be remarkable. We wish for all farm operations to be able to have the necessary workers and to ensure the food safety of the Quebec population. And to end with, I would like to remind you that despite the difficult context brought about by the pandemic of COVID-19, your government is doing everything in order to ensure the regular procurement of food stuff of high quality that are fruit and vegetables from here. To all workers and all employers, I reiterate the willingness of the government to support you. Thank you for being present. We are now at the question period. We will start with Vincent Larin. A question for Mr. Lamontagne concerning the lack of workers, temporary foreign workers. Do we know how many might not come to Quebec? So how many Quebec workers we would require in the fields for this summer? Well, we had planned a regular season. We welcome about 11,000 temporary foreign workers, and according to the estimates that we have today, we think that we might welcome about 8,000 of these people. And through the program that we're getting today, we wish to get 8,500 local Quebec workers to be able to send to our fields. So I understand that we want more workers in the fields as usual? Yes, quite. Because once again, the measure is that we want about 25 hours per week minimally per person, and we want to have a maximum of workers to come and work out in the fields. Okay, now, next question. Hello, gentlemen. This morning, Mr. Boulet was launching a call saying that what he wished is that there be government measures that will ensure that during the entire summer or the harvest period, workers will be there. And he was saying people who will be deconfined throughout the weeks will probably be leaving our fields to go back and work in their own plants or their own domain. Students at some point who come back to the fields are going to go back to their studies. Are there measures to be able to keep people at work in the fields? Do you have that fear that perhaps even in participating in the program, people might leave before it ends? Well, we're starting that initiative today, and the financial context that we have, we think that it will be very interesting for people who will want to be working in the fields. We're taking for 25 hours a week. Also, the call that we are launching, we think that many people are going to be coming in the fields. There's a question of solidarity. There's also a question of people wanting to make a difference, wanting to contribute and helping our producers. So we can only hope that things will go well. And it is with that objective in mind that we're launching this program. The foreign workers, are they going to have right to the same extra money in the program? Yes, quite, Mr. Boulet. This is applicable to the Quebecers that do not have a job and who will come work in the fields as much as the temporary foreign workers. So both will benefit of an equitable treatment. So they will have the same incentive measure. There will be discrimination. And often we would refer to temporary foreign workers as being people who are potentially vulnerable. So equity between the temporary foreign workers and the Quebec workers is ensured by the program that we are announcing today.
Maintenant, à mon tour, si vous permettez, on va continuer à faire la ronde. Ça gagne combien?
How much money usually do they make workers that work 25 hours to 40 hours a week, apart from the premiums that you're announcing today? Well, the people that usually do this agricultural labor are paid, the minimum wages. So I think that it's going to be $13.10. So it is the kind of payout made for this kind of work. And so you are announcing training, but there's a question having to do with safety at work, because this is an area where it is recognized as being work that can be dangerous because of the machinery, for example. Are these people going to be covered by the same CNSST program? In case of accident, are they going to be trained correctly to use agricultural machinery? Well, that is one of the aspects of the program that we're announcing today. There is training. The sectorial committee for labor is going to ensure that people are trained correctly, integrated correctly, and that the regular programs of the CNEST that you're referring to are applicable, of course, in the context of the agricultural working environment. I would like to talk about the question of food autonomy in Quebec. Mr. Legault was mentioning in his press conference today that we had feared in the past month lacking certain fruit and vegetables. Is that still the case right now? Otherwise, what do we think we may be missing in terms of foodstuff? Well, we have considerable production from a horticultural point of view in Quebec, but of course there's winter. In the winter, we import more than we do in the summer, and there are products that in Quebec we don't have the climate to grow either. So when the Premier was referring to the possibility of not having certain produce, it was a context where, for example, the borders could be closed, or there wouldn't be that possibility anymore of being able to import certain products. But the capacity in Quebec of feeding Quebecers is strong. There's no shortage ahead of us, whether it be because of our own local production or access to foreign markets or imports or anything like that. There's no shortage that we can predict for the people of Quebec. So we don't fear, we don't fear in the next few months to not have bananas or oranges or fruit that might come from the United States, for example. No, we do not fear lacking food or products. However, what is important is that we want, more than ever, to be able to eat the fruits of our own production, of our own farmers. So what we see that might be more difficult this year is the local agricultural production, so that Quebecers can eat the products that are sowed and harvested by the Quebec producers. So the objective of the program that we are creating today is to maximize the opportunities for our producers in allowing them to be able to offer their products to Quebecers this summer, and that Quebecers be able to fall in love with them and buy more than ever. On the autonomy, food autonomy, the Premier is talking about a kind of project, a construction of greenhouses at large scale in Quebec with low-cost energy, hydroelectricity. What is that project? Are you working on a project where we would build large-scale greenhouses to be self-sufficient? Well, I would say first and foremost, in the electoral program of the Coalition Avenir Québec in 2018, we're talking about doubling the greenhouse surface area in Quebec. And my colleague, the Minister of Finance, there was $50 million that was prepared for this project, which we've been developing for many months. Today in Quebec, we have 900 greenhouses, which are some very small, some are larger. And the objective, and that was already in our program, and it's in the things that I was going to be announcing following the budget of Minister Gérard, is to significantly increase. We're talking about doubling the surface area. So what we have just experienced and what we have been experiencing for the past few weeks has created awareness in Quebecers of the importance of going forward with such a project. So these are things that we will be pursuing in the months and years to come. So if I understand, you still have the plan of doubling the surface area, not tripling or quadrupling. What could we grow in these greenhouses, and what effect would it have on our produce imports? Well, first, before tripling or quadrupling, we have to start by doubling. So, once we'll have met our first objective, which is doubling, maybe we'll want to double that doubling. But those are steps. But today, we made an announcement with a company that will be producing the strawberries. They start, Sobeys is going to start in a few weeks. So strawberries year-long. In the winter, vertical agriculture, greenhouse production, so there's all sorts of fruit. What about bananas? Well, we're not at the stage of bananas or oranges, but all sorts of products that we can grow today massively in the summer, but that we'll be able to, with work and investments, to do over a longer period of time. The objective will be to make sure that every time that we produce them, those are fewer imports. So the objective is, in fact, to reduce significantly our procurement in foodstuff that we are capable of producing ourselves with the technology and climate that we have. You evoked a part of the help for transportation. I would like to know how that's going to take place, because it is, of course, of moving that labor from the cities to the fields, which are not always very close. Is that why you set up that amount of money? Well, you have to know that at the Agriculture Ministry, we had up until today a program where we supported producers that would go get workers who sometimes did not live close to the farm to support them financially so that they could move back and forth or give support to those people. But in the context of the pandemic, in the context of the rules emitted by public health, we can agree that in order to transport those workers, there's going to be additional expenses. So we rewrote, if you will, a new program to which we devote close to $2 million to allow for the compensation of the costs to bring those workers on the farms. Particularly the rules, the sanitary rules coming from social distancing as well. So there are fees that are inherent to that dynamic, and the program is going to allow being able to pay for those additional costs. You said it earlier on, that program will go hand in hand with the other program that was already announced concerning the low-income workers, the PIET? The PIRT, yes. And I wanted to know, are you sure that there won't be a fiscal disadvantage for workers, for example, which all of a sudden would, remove their cap, and that they would pay so much more in taxes that it wouldn't be worth working more? No, but the fiscal aspect we had considered in the PIRT. These are people who are low income. What will be the fiscal incidence? Of course, these are payouts that are taxable, that will have to be part of the income tax of the person to Revenu Québec, and people will be, will have to also have the same consequences coming from Quebec fiscality. There won't be, these payouts won't be non-taxable.
Monsieur Beauvais non plus. Si vous permettez, on va passer aux questions.
We will now go to English questions.
J'ai ici deux questions en fait de CBC.
I have two questions from CBC here.
It is not easy. There's a reason why we depend on foreign workers. Why do you think Quebecers will want to do this job, especially when there are financial aid programs?
I would say that, first of all, there's a question of solidarity, there's a question of interest, there's a need among our agriculture community, and the program we put forward today will certainly give a motivation to people in excess to their own interest to participate and collaborate. What we're announcing today will certainly be an incentive, a good reason for people to show up and go work in the field and help.
And now, second question, how will you make sure you retain the Quebecers who come forward to work. At some point, they will be tempted to go back to their old jobs when their economic sector reopens.
Actually, as I said, people who will go in the field for a majority will be people that have an interest. And honestly, to have been working now for a year and a half with all our producers and agriculture in Quebec, I will see that those people that will go work in the field, for a lot of them, they will really enjoy how they contribute to the society of Quebec by helping, in harvesting the food of our people here. So they're inherent to their job. There will be this satisfaction and this desire to contribute. So hopefully we can see that people will stay and work along with our producers.
And it's an incentive program. At the end of the day, it will help entrepreneurs to recruit and retain employees. We cannot force them to keep working in this area, but at least it will incite them to go help Quebec become more autonomous in terms of its capacity to feed Quebecers.
And now a question from Samuel Pouliot, CTV.
Yes, just can you quickly summarize your statement and tell us how much the program will cost and how many new workers do you expect to get with that?
We expect to have 8,500 Quebecers to invest the fields and to have 8,000 temporary workers that will be actually in the field. So the total measure for 16,500 people will amount to $42.6 million if they all show up.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup et je vous souhaite une bonne fin de semaine.
Merci,
Patrice.
merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Thank you. A good weekend to all.
Merci, thank you.